Welcome back to the deep dive. There are some topics, some vast, bizarre corners of video game lore that you just know are going to be a deep, detailed, and frankly, kind of ridiculous dive.
Oh, yeah.
This is definitely one of those. I have been excited about digging into this one for, I swear, a criminally long time. And yeah, I am really looking forward to tearing apart this source material with you tonight.
It's definitely contentious, isn't it? And I think a necessary deep dive. The community discussions around this specific system, they're just endless, really passionate, and usually they boil down to one central frustration. Which is basically, why does the game practically force me to be a saint when I might be trying, like desperately trying, to be a selfish post-apocalyptic asshole?
Exactly. Oh my God, yes. Tonight we are tackling a system so, I think, fundamentally flawed, so bizarrely tilted toward moral purity, that it requires the player to engage in what our sources pretty much call cartoonishly heinous acts just to maybe hit neutral.
Right. We're talking, of course, about the Fallout 3 karma system.
We are, and why, according to the just exhaustive source material you provided, which includes meticulous wiki data, lengthy community threads, why it feels absolutely designed to make you the saint of the Wasteland by sheer overwhelming default. It's nuts.
Yeah, we've pulled it all together, the point values, the rewards, the sometimes hilarious grind required for actual villainy.
Yeah.
And we're going to compare Fallout 3's really rigid global moral score to, the faction-based approach of New Vegas and then the personal affinity system in Fallout 4.
Which is useful, right? It gives us a great perspective on maybe why Bethesda eventually moved away from this kind of design.
Definitely.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to break down the mechanics of morality as essentially a numerical currency. We'll expose the most egregious flaws, detail the single best reason to fight that good bias spoiler, it's no P-perk, and just try to figure out what the hell you actually have to do to be truly and sustainably evil in the capital wasteland without just, blowing everything up constantly.
It's kind of the easy way out, isn't it?
Totally the easy way out. So yeah, I'm cracking open a nice, strong drink for this one. Might be hitting the vape later, because honestly, this is probably going to be a long one, and we just need to savor the absurdity. Let's unpack this mess.
All right, let's do it. Section 1. The default setting is saintly.
Effortless good karma.
Yeah, how effortless it is. The primary argument, really, that underpins all the source critiques is that Fallout 3's karma is, to use the word everyone uses, ludicrously tilted
Yeah.
towards the positive side.
Ludicrously.
Achieving very good status, getting max karma, it's almost effortless. It just sort of happens because the game fundamentally mistakes basic survival instincts and just following the plot for genuine moral heroism.
It really feels like the moral scale starts at basically decent human being and then just spirals upward exponentially from there. And the only way to counteract that is to actively, deliberately commit atrocities.
Yeah. Let's look at how the Lone Wanderer starts, even before they see sunlight, the Vault 101 head start. Right. The game immediately starts rewarding the player for just, internalizing the notion of good. You get rewarded inside the vault for really minor, almost defensive actions.
Right.
Well, you get a little boost of good karma for saving Amada from the wonderfully named tunnel snakes.
Right. Gotta love the tunnel snake.
And you get another small but, definite boost for saving Butch's mom from rad roaches.
Okay, so saving someone from giant cockroaches makes you a hero now.
Apparently. These are fundamentally narrative tutorial beats, right?
Yeah.
They're designed to teach you the controls, advance the plot. But at the same time, they teach you that basic self-preservation and protecting your immediate peers are morally heroic acts worth actual points on this scale.
And that little initial nudge, that upward incline, it just gets immediately reinforced by simply existing in the capital wasteland, doesn't it? Let's talk about passive goodness.
Exactly. The moment you step outside, who are the main enemies you fight constantly? Raiders, super mutants, maybe feral ghouls sometimes.
Standard wasteland threats.
Yeah. And killing a raider, an unavoidable low-tier enemy, basically a road hazard half the time, gives you a karma bonus.
Seriously, for killing a raider.
Yep. The data we looked at suggests that killing these common, clearly defined bad guys does, and I quote one source here, a lot of work towards getting you to very good status. The game never stops rewarding you for just fighting back against the, generic hostility of the wasteland.
So if you're a player who just likes combat or needs to clear areas to explore,
you're automatically racking up dozens, maybe hundreds of points of positive karma just by playing the game normally. Contrast that with stuff like, scavenging for food or water, essential for survival,
Not
right?
really.
Morally neutral. The game only seems to reward the violent acts of quote-unquote heroism.
It's a ridiculous imbalance. Every single time you defend yourself, every time you clear out some random bandit camp just to get through, the game pats you on the back and gives you a few karma points. Like, one commenter described it as trying to swim to the bottom of a pool while wearing floaties made of pure moral righteousness.
Huh.
That's a good analogy.
You're just constantly being pulled to the surface, to good. And furthermore, saving a randomly encountered Wasteland captive, which is a pretty common low-effort event, right? That nets you a substantial plus 50 karma.
Yeah, 50 point. That plus 50 karma gain for just a basic rescue, that's equivalent to deliberately stealing 10 separate items, like one by one from inside a settlement. The effort to reward ratio is just completely broken in favor of good.
And this whole situation leads us perfectly to the most cited piece of evidence for how biased this system is. The megaton paradox. The quest power of the atom. This is where the game truly confuses basic common sense with actual sainthood.
Right, you're presented with this massive moral decision, supposedly. Disarm the unexploded atomic bomb sitting in the middle of Megaton, probably the first town you stumble across after leaving the vault, or detonate it for that wealthy ghoul Tenpenny who just wants a better view from his fancy tower.
Okay, seems pretty clear-cut. Well, disarming the bomb gives you a colossal plus 200 karma. And you can even do it without taking any monetary reward, just for the good of it.
200 points. Wait,
Uh.
hang on. To put that in perspective, that single action is enough to completely counterbalance, what, enslaving two major characters later in the game?
Pretty much, yeah. Or stealing 40 different items.
But why is it even framed as this grand moral choice? That's the insane part.
That's exactly the core of the critique from the sources.
Yeah.
Disarming the bomb requires, I think it's a DC 25 skill check in explosives, which is trivial. Even an early game character who puts just a few points into the skill can pass it easily.
Okay.
Functionally, it is simply the easiest, most practical choice, as one source put it. Blowing up a major hub like Megaton means losing merchants, quest givers, a potential player home. It's just inconvenient.
It's objectively stupid to blow it up from a gameplay perspective.
Exactly. The community consensus argues that avoiding the mass murder of an entire community should be the pragmatic, maybe even the neutral choice in a world that's supposedly focused on resource conservation and survival.
I mean, for fuck's sake, you literally grew up nearby. The idea that the game elevates simple, pragmatic, common sense like, don't nuke a functional settlement full of people for a handful of caps, from a literal cartoon villain living in a tower, to the level of profound moral heroism is just fucking ludicrous.
It really is.
The game tells you, through the mechanics, wow, you are a moral beacon, a saintly hero, just for having basic survival instincts and like a shred of common decency not to commit mass murder for pocket change. It completely strips away any possible ambiguity or nuance.
And the reward is so high, the plus 200 points, it forces that moral value onto the choice, completely regardless of what the player's internal motivation might have been.
Right. You might disarm it just because you want the house key from Sheriff Sims, or because you don't want to lose early access to Moira's shop, or just because nuking it is obviously dumb.
But the game doesn't care why you did it. It just sees the plus 200 numerical input, slaps a good label on you, and moves on.
Okay, so this whole system is less about morality and more about just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Pretty much. Which brings us nicely into section 2, breaking down the mechanics. Morality as a numerical spreadsheet.
Let's do it. We need to define the scale clearly because understanding the point requirements really highlights why trying to be neutral is such a pain in the ass.
Right. The entire system is very rigid. It operates on a scale from an absolute minimum of negative 1,000 points to an absolute maximum of plus 1,000 points.
So a 2,000 point spectrum in total.
Exactly. And the player starts precisely at 0, smack in the middle. Now, there are 5 levels, or tiers, which dictate things like companion recruitment, certain perks, and those lovely hit squad encounters. And they're strictly defined by point thresholds.
Walk us through the milestones then. What are the good levels?
Okay, starting at the top. Very good requires a score between plus 750 and plus 1,000. Just below that, simply good. That spans from plus 250 up to plus 749.
And the evil side.
The inverse, basically. Very evil runs from negative 750 down to the rock bottom of a negative 1,000. And then evil is from negative 250 down to negative 749.
Okay, seems symmetrical enough, but here's the kicker, right? The bit that makes role-playing complex characters almost impossible.
The dead center, neutral. How wide is that band? Shockingly narrow. It occupies the range between -249 and +249.
Wait, only 500 points total out of
Yeah.
2,000.
Exactly, a 500-point window. And while 500 points might sound like a lot initially,
We just established that single actions, like not nuking Megaton, can swing the meter by 200 points. Or saving one captive is 50 points.
precisely, if you're actually trying to roleplay a truly balanced opportunist, someone who does good deeds sometimes and selfish things other times, you're constantly walking on this incredibly narrow razor's edge.
It's such an unstable equilibrium. The moment you decide to kill a few too many raiders just out of necessity, boom, you tip over into good.
Or you hack one too many owned terminals.
And bam, you've slipped into evil territory. It requires constant, meticulous, almost metagamey management, which is just the complete antithesis of immersive, emergent role-playing.
Absolutely. And this numerical classification, it doesn't just affect mechanics. It immediately slaps you with one of the most over-the-top forms of moral branding I've seen, the karma titles.
Oh god, the titles. Yeah. They really emphasize the black and white nature of this whole design, don't they? No subtlety whatsoever.
None at all. When you're good, you progress from something like Vault Guardian, maybe, then Sentinel, then Protector.
Okay, standard heroic stuff.
But if you stick with it, especially after the Broken Steel DLC raised the level cap, you can achieve titles like Saint, Messiah, or even, last, Best Hope of Humanity.
Messiah. Seriously? Wow, okay. Talk about laying it on thick.
Is incredibly dramatic, yeah. And utterly lacking in any kind of nuance. And on the evil path, the branding is equally cartoonish. It suggests that any selfishness immediately makes you, like, a world-ending threat.
So what are the evil titles like?
You start small, maybe Vault Delinquent or Opportunist, but you quickly escalate to things like Fiend, Evil Incarnate, Scourge of Humanity, and the infamous Demon Spawn.
Demon Spawn, good lord. So the game doesn't really allow for, like, casual villainy, does it? You can't just be a bit dodgy.
Nope. You have to be an avatar of pure, unadulterated malice, apparently. It completely eliminates the possibility of playing, say, a charming rogue who only steals from the rich, or a morally conflicted survivor just trying to get by.
You are either saving kittens from trees, or you are literally the spawn of Satan. There is no in between.
Pretty much. And what's really interesting, and maybe kind of telling about the system's flaws, is that the developers eventually provided a mechanical way to just say, you know what, screw it, I'm done trying to manage this damn spreadsheet.
Oh.
Through the ultimate morality resets. These are perks available at level 30, which came with the Broken Steel expansion.
Ah, level 30 perks, so endgame stuff. But wait, this almost feels like an admission of failure, doesn't it? If players are having such a hard time maintaining their chosen alignment or getting the alignment they want, the developers just hand them a cheat code.
That's exactly how it feels, according to many sources. If you're struggling to maintain your good alignment because, I don't know, you keep accidentally stealing tin cans,
Which happens.
you can take the perk escalator to heaven. This immediately grants you plus 2,000 karma, which, because the cap is plus 1,000, instantly resets your score to the absolute maximum. Boom, instant sainthood, no tedious water bottle donations required.
Okay, wow. And the other way, if you started out good but realized, damn, I really want that evil companion, Jericho, but you just can't bring yourself to actually nuke Megaton.
Then you take Devil's Highway. This subtracts 2,000 karma, resetting you instantly to the minimum of Medic 1,000. Instant demon spawn status achieved via perk selection.
And for those poor souls actually trying to walk that narrow, neutral tightrope, the masochists.
There's one for them too. The level 30 perk, Karmic Rebalance, resets your score perfectly to 0, right back to neutral.
It's just fascinating how the game offers the player a way to entirely meta-game or just completely bypass the alignment struggle it established in the first place.
Yeah.
It really cements the idea that the system isn't primarily a role-playing engine, is it?
No, it feels much more like a mechanical gate for content like companions and perks,
Right.
rather than a genuine reflection of your character's choices.
Right. Okay, now let's get to the glorious meat of the source material. Actual transactions. Section 3. The best, the worst, and honestly the funniest ways karma shifts. This section really highlights the sheer, beautiful idiocy of applying these rigid numerical values to moral choices. Let's start with the easy exploits, the things the community calls the karma dispensing machines.
Right. Outside of just mindlessly killing raiders all day, the single most efficient way to maximize good karma is through charity. Specifically, what the community often refers to as the cap water economy.
The cap water economy. Okay, detail the charity mechanics for us. Why is purified water the true currency of redemption in the capital Wasteland?
Well, you could donate caps to a church. I think it's +1 karma per cap, usually in set increments, but it's pretty slow and inefficient.
Okay.
The absolute hands down exploit is giving purified water to a water beggar. You find these NPCs strategically placed. The one outside Riven City is probably the most famous.
I know the one.
Giving them a single bottle of purified water grants a whopping plus 50 karma per item.
50 points. For one bottle of water, you can carry dozens of those things.
Exactly. The sources all confirm the infamous calculation. The mathematical cost of committing total genocide blowing up Megaton is minus 1,000 karma.
Right. The biggest single evil act.
That single atrocity, the worst thing you can do, can be completely neutralized, wiped clean off your moral slate by distributing exactly 20 bottles of purified water. Plus 50 karma times 20 equals plus 1,000 karma.
I mean, that is just grade A bullshit morality right there.
Yeah.
That is insane. You can commit the single greatest atrocity in the game's history, murder every single person you know from the early game, ruin the environment for miles around, and then 10 minutes later, you're basically Mother Teresa because you had a couple dozen bottles of Dasani stashed away.
Pretty much. That's not gray morality, that's just a broken calculator.
It's fucking hilarious.
The sheer absurdity of the weight differential is what makes this system so easy to abuse and, honestly, so meaningless. Furthermore, if you take the Lawbringer perk, you can collect fingers from evil characters you kill. Selling these fingers to Sonora Cruz grants plus 10 karma per finger.
So another easy grind, constantly rewarding you for just killing the designated bad guys.
Exactly. More passive good karma generation through combat.
Okay, speaking of mega boosts, we have to mention the really high value one-time quest rewards that just dump good karma on you.
Oh yeah. Activating Project Purity yourself at the end of main quest nets you an unbelievable plus 600 karma.
600.
And choosing to activate the failsafe to end the simulation in Tranquility Lane. That's another plus 300 karma.
Wow. These massive boosts just cement the bias, don't they? Unless you are actively, deliberately nuking settlements and enslaving entire families on a regular basis, you are mathematically destined for sainthood. It's unavoidable.
Yeah, the pull is incredibly strong. Now let's flip it. Let's look at the dark side. To counteract this relentless tidal wave of good karma, you are forced into what the community basically calls the hilariously grind-based evil.
Right. Achieving and maintaining an evil rating, or even just neutral, requires this intense, tedious commitment to really low-point acts of petty cruelty. It's not fun, dramatic villainy. It sounds like administrative villainy.
That's a good way to put it. Killing a non-evil character is the biggest single repeatable hit you can take easily at negative 100 karma per kill. But obviously that often has significant in-game consequences like failing quests or losing merchants.
Right, not always sustainable.
So for sustainable, repeatable evil that doesn't break your game, you generally have to turn to stealing and hacking.
And what's the problem there?
The problem with stealing is its laughably low return rate for evil. Stealing from a non-evil character or container only gives you negative 5 karma per instance.
Per instance, not per item.
Exactly, per instance. As the sources detailed meticulously, this means if you open a container and grab 5 different items out of it in one go, you only lose 5 karma total.
You're kidding me. So to lose a significant amount of karma through theft, you'd have to, what? Engage in this absurd little ritual.
Pretty much. You'd have to meticulously open the container, steal 1 paperweight, close the container, open it again, steal 1 fork, close it again, and repeat that process hundreds of times just to make a dent in your good karma score.
That's not evil, that's obsessive compulsive.
Or, the most cited method of achieving moral decay, repeatedly hacking an own terminal, one with red text. This action is classified by the game as stealing, so it gives you 1 of I5 karma per attempt.
Per attempt, not per success.
Attempt. And you can intentionally fail the hacking minigame over and over and over again to just rack up the penalty points.
Oh my god, that is the ultimate time sink of villainy. One commenter described spending like an entire gameplay session just repeatedly clicking on the same locked terminal in some abandoned factory, failing deliberately just to bleed off the positive karma they accidentally earned by like killing a few feral ghouls on the way there.
Think about the real-world translation of that. Imagine you accidentally do something nice, right? Like you pay for the coffee for the person behind you in line, and boom, you gain 50 karma points in your cosmic score.
Okay.
Now, to neutralize that single act of kindness, you have to spend the next hour walking around town, going up to every single ATM you find, and deliberately inputting the wrong PIN until the machine locks you out 50 times.
That's genuinely the feeling of trying to be a balanced opportunist, or even just slightly bad in this game, isn't it? It's work.
It's tedious work. And even other explicitly evil actions have ridiculously low point values, using the cannibal perk to, devour a corpse.
Yeah.
Only gives you -1 karma per corpse.
-1 for cannibalism.
-1. Or taking the contract killer perk, the evil counterpart to Lawbringer, and selling the ears of good characters you hunt down. That gives a measly -10 karma per ear.
10 points. So you need to murder and mutilate 10 good people just to counteract nuking Megaton. Sorry, no, just to counteract giving away 2 bottles of water.
The math is just completely skewed. A truly committed evil player, or even a neutral one, has to manage this karma spreadsheet with the obsessive intensity of a tax auditor.
Okay, but what if you just want to be evil quickly? If you absolutely must bypass the grind, you have to resort to the big stuff, right? The cartoonishly heinous acts?
Exactly. The morally unambiguous decisions that slam your karma meter with the maximum negative values.
We've already beaten the Megaton nuke to death. That's a clean Magna 1000 karma hit. What else is in that category?
Well, another major one is related to the main quest. Choosing to infect Project Purity with the modified FEV virus during the Take It Back quest. That also results in a massive Mega 1000 karma loss. These are basically instant global declarations of absolute world-altering malice.
Okay, so genocide or bioterrorism. Got it.
Yeah.
What about slightly less apocalyptic evil?
Then you get into the major questline choices, centered around depravity and exploitation. Enslaving any character using the Mesmetron, that handheld non-lethal subjugation device.
Oh yeah, the slaver quest line.
Using that successfully on someone is a permanent -100 karma hit per person enslaved.
Okay, still requires multiple uses to really tank your score.
Right. But then there's taking the orphan child, Brian Wilkes, to Paradise Falls during the quest instead of finding him a proper home. That's a massive -400 karma penalty, explicitly involving child trafficking.
Jesus. Okay, yeah, that's pretty unambiguous. Selling kids is definitely evil. Little Lamplight also plays into this, right?
Yeah, interactions there can definitely push you further down the evil path, especially related to Paradise Falls.
And some of the worst acts, karma-wise, seem to involve just pure emotional cruelty, don't they?
Absolutely. The example often cited is causing the character Mr. Lopez to commit suicide through verbal abuse. Depending on how you do it, either by literally pushing him off a ledge or just insulting him so badly he jumps the Game Awards a devastating negative 500 karma.
-500 for being mean. That single act of psychological torture is half a nuclear detonation's worth of evil points.
It is, and this is where the game's moral compass just spins wildly out of control. We mentioned earlier that weird quest in Revit City involving getting a love drug for a priest who isn't interested.
Right, the one that feels really sketchy, like implied chemical assault.
Successfully completing that action, depending on the choices, often yields quest rewards or is treated as basically karma neutral. Meanwhile, stealing an item worth 0 caps, completely undetected, from a hostile faction like, say, the Legion in New Vegas, or maybe some Raider cultists in Fallout 3 causes an immediate karma penalty.
How does that make any sense? Stealing useless junk from bad guys is bad, but helping someone roofie a priest is fine.
The system simply doesn't understand context or intent. If the game flags an NPC or faction as bad guy, then killing them, or sometimes even stealing their worthless junk, might be neutral or even good. But if a friendly NPC technically owns the item, even if it's a rusty tin can and they're a cannibal, you suffer a penalty, even if nobody saw you.
So morality is tied purely to the concept of designated ownership and maybe quest flags, not the actual moral weight or context of the action.
Precisely. It's truly fundamentally broken on a conceptual level.
Okay, so despite this completely broken philosophical foundation, the karma score in Fallout 3 is actually really important mechanically, right? It dictates crucial aspects of your playthrough. Unlike later games, your score isn't just a label, it's a functional gate.
Absolutely. It matters a lot in FO3. And if you're going to commit to that hellish grind of moral balancing we talked about, you better know why you're doing it. And the main reason, it's all for the potential reward of the neutral utopia.
The neutral utopia sounds nice. What is it?
It refers to the single greatest mechanical reward in the entire karma system, a perk that is only accessible to players who successfully maintain that volatile neutrality range, that -249 to +249 window.
And that perk is?
Impartial mediation.
Okay, impartial mediation. Explain why this one perk is apparently so valuable that it's worth wrestling with this awful system.
Impartial mediation grants an absolutely astonishing +30 points to the speech skill, permanently.
30 points to speech. In Fallout 3, skill checks for dialogue, trading, quest resolution, They're everything. The max skill is 100.
Exactly. 30 points represents nearly a third of your total required skill level for passing even the hardest checks. Most perks in the game grant what, maybe +5 or +10 to a specific combat skill or small resistance.
Yeah, usually minor boosts.
This single perk practically guarantees success in almost every speech check you'll encounter in the entire game. It allows the player to manipulate NPCs, avoid difficult fights, access better quest rewards, get better prices. It's hugely powerful.
Holy crap, that is massive. It's a genuine game changer for any character who wants to talk their way through the Wasteland instead of just shooting everything. Given how difficult it can be to manually level speech, especially early on, and how rare skill books are.
Yeah.
Okay, that perk is the ultimate reward for successful moral accounting.
It really is. It's the single best mechanical reason to fight that constant gravitational pull towards good karma and endure the grind to stay neutral.
All right, fair enough. What else does karma gatekeep beyond that one super perk?
Well, beyond perk, karma acts as the absolute gatekeeper for your potential teammates. The companion requirement forces you into a certain alignment commitment fairly early on, because specific companions will only join you and often only remain with you if you meet their strict moral threshold.
Okay, so who do you get for being good?
If you're running good karma, you get access to the real powerhouses. The sources always stress Fox, the super mutant companion found in Vault 87. He's notoriously overpowered in combat, just a walking tank.
Oh yeah, Fox is a beast.
And you also get Star Paladin Cross from the Brotherhood of Steel, who's another strong fighter. They follow you willingly if your karma is high enough, and they don't cost any caps to recruit.
Sounds great. What's the catch?
The catch is that they are moral purists. The sources state that the moment your karma score dips into the evil range, -250 or lower, they will basically express their disgust, immediately leave your service, and flat out refuse to rejoin you until you go out and pay your dues by handing out water bottles or whatever, and elevate your score back above the good threshold.
Wow, okay, so they have standards. What about the neutral companions, the reward for walking that tightrope?
If you manage to stay neutral, you can recruit the robot soldier, Sergeant RL3, who you usually buy from Tinker Joe. And you can also recruit Butch Deloria, your old buddy, the former tunnel snake leader from Vault 101.
Butch. Right. How are they?
They're generally seen as solid mid-game fighters. Not as OP as Fox, but reliable.
And are they as judgmental as the good guys?
An interesting functional detail here, according to the sources, is that the neutral companions are actually slightly more forgiving after you hire them. Once you successfully recruit RL3 or Butch, they generally won't just up and abandon you if your karma later shifts wildly into good or evil territory.
Oh, okay. That's bad.
However, if you dismiss them for any reason, you absolutely cannot rehire them unless you painstakingly return your karma score back into that narrow neutral band. They're loyal once hired, but they are absolute sticklers for the initial hiring requirements.
Gotcha. Okay, finally, the evil crew. Who do you get for being demon spawn?
If you embrace the dark side, you get access to the slavers and mercenaries. Specifically, Clover, the slave companion you can buy from Eulogy Jones in Paradise Falls, and Jericho, the grumpy, chem-addicted mercenary hanging out in Megaton.
Right, and how loyal are these guys? Do they ditch you if you accidentally save a kitten?
Ironically, the sources note that these evil companions tend to be the most loyal in the long run. Once recruited, they tend to stick around even if your karma somehow swings all the way back to very good.
Really?
Yeah. Though they might start making snide comments, calling the lone wanderer boring or soft for doing good deeds, but they don't usually just leave.
Huh. That's actually kind of funny. So this creates a really interesting role-playing constraint, doesn't it? If you want the objectively most powerful combat companion, Fox, you must be virtuous.
Right.
But if you want the companions who will actually stick by you, regardless of your inevitable alignment shifts caused by the janky system Jericho or Clover, you pretty much have to start out in depravity.
Exactly. It forces a choice based on mechanics rather than purely role-playing preference.
Okay, what else? There's another major mechanical hook tied to karma extremes, right? Something about people hunting you.
Yes. The introduction of the hit squads. Apparently you become so globally renowned for your extreme moral standing, either very good or very evil, that organized mercenary groups start hunting you down for bounties placed on your head.
Okay, that sounds like a proper consequence. Who comes after you if you're good?
If you reach very good status, the Talon Company mercenaries start ambushing you randomly in the Wasteland. They're portrayed in the game as ruthless antagonists working for shady clients.
So, a punishment for being too heroic.
Well, that seems to be the intent. But the community universally agrees this is absolutely not a punishment.
Why not?
Because the Talon Company mercs drop incredibly valuable loot. They consistently carry high-tier combat armor, sometimes even power armor pieces, good weapons like assault rifles or sniper rifles, and lots of valuable chems and ammo.
Wait, so being attacked by them is actually beneficial?
Massively beneficial. It's seen as a reward. Players describe it as a free walking supply chest, providing an almost unlimited refreshing supply of combat armor and gear. The game literally rewards your extreme heroism by sending better equipped enemies for you to loot.
That is backwards. Completely backwards. Okay, so what happens if you're very evil? Who hunts you then? Do they drop even better stuff?
Conversely, if you reach very evil, you start getting hunted by the regulators. They're framed as the vigilante good guys trying to bring justice to the Wasteland's scum.
Okay. Do they have good loot?
According to the sources, universally no. The critique is that the regulators allegedly have shit armor compared to Talon Company, usually just basic leather armor or regulator dusters, maybe lower tier weapons.
The game punishes you for being evil by sending guys with worse gear, but rewards you for being good by sending guys with better gear.
That seems to be the consensus, yes. It's like being penalized for evil with a parking ticket, but being penalized for good with a parking ticket that also happens to have a winning lottery scratcher attached to it.
This system is just wow. Okay, and what about the chaos? The sources mentioned something about when the system breaks down.
Yes. There's this rare but fascinating occurrence where a player who has, maybe through using those level 30 reset perks or just wild gameplay swings, been both very good and very evil at different points in their playthrough. They might accidentally trigger both the Talon Company and the Regulator hit squad simultaneously.
What happens then?
Pure chaos. An instant, unscripted battle royale often erupts right in front of you. The two hostile mercenary groups, who are defined by their opposing moral contracts, apparently often prioritize fighting each other over fighting the player.
Seriously, they just start duking it out.
Yeah, leading to these really chaotic, unpredictable, and usually very high loot encounters where you just stand back, watch them kill each other, and then pick through the wreckage. The game's attempt at imposing moral consequence just completely devolves into a free-for-all loot drop.
Incredible. Okay, one last thing on implications. How does the world actually know your score? We mentioned the omniscient Wasteland problem, but how is it broadcast?
Primarily through the voice of the Wasteland himself. Three Dog, the DJ for Galaxy News Radio.
Ugh. Three Dog. Fighting the good fight.
Right. His news broadcasts, the little snippets between songs, are directly tied to the player's current karma score and recent major quest actions linked to karma.
And this causes problems.
It creates these really odd, as the source put it, and immersion-breaking situations. He might spend one segment calling the player a real jackass, or the scourge of the Wasteland, because you just, I don't know, blew up Megaton an hour ago.
Okay, makes sense.
But then, moments later, if you immediately went and handed out like 5 bottles of purified water to the Rivet City beggar.
He's suddenly praising you.
Exactly. The next news segment might have him complimenting you for being a moral beacon or the capital Wasteland's guardian angel. The fact that the entire Wasteland, via its main news source, seems to suffer from severe short-term memory loss about your heinous crimes, just because you performed a few trivially weighted good acts, really confirms how artificial the whole system feels.
It perceives your current numerical score, not your cumulative actions or any kind of reasoned character arc.
Precisely. It's just reading the number on the meter at that exact moment.
Which brings us right to the core systemic critique, doesn't it? Section 5. Black and white in what's supposed to be the gray wasteland.
Exactly. The entire Fallout franchise premise, especially post-APOC, promises this morally gray, resource-scarce setting where choices are hard and survival is paramount. But Fallout 3's heavy reliance on this numerical, globally broadcast karma system basically destroys any chance of genuine moral ambiguity.
Yeah, the moment you make morality quantifiable like this, you remove the need for the player to actually think or reflect, don't you? The game constantly flashes those messages. You have gained karma, or you have lost karma.
Right. One community member put it perfectly, saying the game basically tells you, thanks game, now I know what I did was wrong, and I don't have to think about it anymore.
It pre-packages the moral value of every significant action. There's zero ambiguity in blowing up Megaton. The game immediately deducts 1,000 points and slaps the demon spawn title on you.
There's no room left for the player to maybe rationalize their decision and character. Perhaps they viewed it as necessary self-defense against a corrupt sheriff, or maybe a cold, calculated move to seize Tenpenny's fortune and potentially use it for some greater good down the line.
Nope. The game has already decided your soul is irrevocably stained, numerically speaking, until you find a water beggar.
Right. And this feeds directly into that highly criticized flaw we touched on, the omniscient Wasteland. The entire game world seems to instantly know your precise internal moral standing at all times, regardless of whether there were any witnesses to your actions.
It's such a massive immersion failure. It just screams video game mechanic in a way that pulls you right out. If you sneak into like a cannibal cult's hidden lair in the middle of the night wearing stealth gear, and you steal a single worthless tin can completely undetected,
You lose karma. -5 points.
how does the rest of the Capital Wasteland, how does fucking Fox know you just committed that incredibly minor act of petty larceny against evil cannibals in secret?
The system doesn't account for witnesses or public knowledge. It's just directly linked to the player's actions versus the game's internal ownership tags.
It's infuriating for anyone trying to actually roleplay. You could be wearing a full suit of power armor, sneaking perfectly, stealing from a faction that clearly deserves it based on their actions. But nope, the magical moral sensor floating invisibly above your head still deducts 5 points from your global score.
The consensus in the sources is that this universal, instantaneous knowledge makes the whole system feel deeply artificial and, frankly, lazy.
Which is why some sources suggested that alternative approach, right? A dual system.
Exactly. The suggestion that kept coming up was to split it. Keep karma, maybe, but make it purely internal, perhaps affecting certain perks, maybe some internal monologue stuff, or specific companion reactions based on their perception. But then have a separate system for global reputation.
And reputation would be based on?
Based only on public actions, major quest outcomes that people would realistically know about, and whether there were witnesses to your deeds. Did people see you save Megaton? Your NCR reputation goes up. Did someone see you steal from the general store? Your Megaton reputation goes down.
That would allow for so much more complexity. You could actually role-play a wolf in sheep's clothing character then.
Precisely. You could publicly perform heroic acts to maintain a high global reputation, getting access to good merchants, gaining the respect of certain factions, while internally maintaining a low karma score, perhaps. Maybe unlocking evil-only dialogue options or satisfying certain companion preferences. It allows for nuance and deception, which the binary omniscient FO3 system actively denies.
And we can really see how the franchise sort of learned from this mess, or at least reacted to the complaints, when we look at the later games. Let's do the comparisons, starting with Fallout. New Vegas. How did Obsidian handle karma?
Well, New Vegas still had a karma system, technically. But the overwhelming community consensus is that it was functionally almost non-existent compared to FO3.
Really? How so?
It primarily affected only a few minor dialogue checks, whether the companion cast would initially join or eventually leave you, and I think some of the level 50 perks added into DLCs. That was about it.
So what replaced it in importance?
It was heavily supplanted by the much more nuanced and functional faction reputation system. Instead of the entire world instantly knowing and judging you for stealing a spoon, only the specific faction you stole from, or helped, or hindered, would adjust their opinion of you.
Ah, okay, that immediately introduces shades of gray, doesn't it? You could be idolized by the NCR but simultaneously vilified by Caesar's Legion, or loved in Freeside but hated on the Strip.
Exactly. Your actions had localized consequences based on who was affected and who knew about it, which felt much more realistic and allowed for more complex political maneuvering and role-playing.
Did New Vegas fix the accidental goodness problem? Was it still hard to be evil?
Unfortunately, it seems it still retained that core mechanical flaw inherited from FO3. It was apparently still quite difficult to maintain low karma in New Vegas, for the same basic reason. Killing the common, unambiguously bad guy enemies that the game constantly throws at you, like fiends, vipers, jackals, or even just feral ghouls in some areas, still granted positive karma upon their death.
Ugh. So you were still being rewarded just for basic self-defense and clearing hostile areas, perpetually pushing your score towards the positive end unless you went out of your way to commit atrocities.
Pretty much, yeah. Obsidian focused on reputation, but didn't fundamentally overhaul the underlying karma gain mechanics for common enemies.
Okay, and then Fallout 4 came along and just chucked the whole system out the window, right?
Pretty much, yes. The global karma system, as it existed in 3 and NV, was completely removed in Fallout 4. It was replaced entirely by the companion affinity system.
Companion affinity, how did that work differently?
That system bases moral reactions entirely on specific interpersonal relationships and the individual companion's personality. Instead of a single global score judging all your actions, your morality becomes contextual, judged differently by whoever happens to be traveling with you.
Okay, give me an example.
For example, Preston Garvey, the idealistic leader of the Minutemen, absolutely hates it if you murder an innocent settler or make overly selfish choices. You'll get a Preston dislike that message.
Right.
But a more cynical or morally ambiguous character like Kate or McCready might actually like or even love it when you perform selfish actions, like successfully picking a difficult lock, demanding more money for a quest, or stealing from a powerful group.
Ah, okay. So morality becomes tied directly to personality and the specific context of the action as perceived by your current friend.
Exactly. It makes the moral feedback feel far more organic, relevant to the player's immediate experience and relationships, rather than being tied to some abstract, floating global score that the entire Wasteland somehow agrees on.
That definitely sounds like an improvement, and arguably that shift is the true legacy of the Fallout 3 karma system's failure. It was so criticized that it pushed the franchise to finally abandon that model and try something entirely new and more character-focused.
I think that's a fair assessment, yeah.
All right, Section 6, the big picture. Let's talk about the gamification of morality and what this whole mess means.
Ultimately, what the Fallout 3 karma system showcases so perfectly is the inherent danger, or at least the inherent weirdness, of the gamification of morality. When you assign a quantifiable currency, karma points to ethical choices.
The player inevitably shifts their thinking, don't they? It stops being about considering the ethical meaning or role-playing implications of the action itself.
And it becomes about calculating the optimal mechanical benefit. It stops being about who is my character, what would they do, and starts being about, okay, what transaction do I need to make to get the result I want?
Right. If I need that awesome impartial mediation perk, I know I must spend time doing that tedious terminal hacking grind to stay within the plus minus 249 point window.
Or, if I really want Fox on my team, I know I need to go farm a bunch of purified water bottles to quickly clean up my act numerically before I go talk to him.
It creates this layer of metagaming that actively subverts complex or nuanced role-playing. Trying to be a genuinely self-interested, morally gray, neutral opportunist without resorting to these weird, tedious farming methods is functionally almost impossible.
It really is, because the default mechanics of just playing the game like killing raiders or disarming the damn bomb in Megaton constantly shove you towards numerical sainthood. The game rewards compliance with its numerical schema, not actual complexity or ambiguity in character design.
And the sources pointed out the system wasn't entirely Bethesda's invention, right? It was kind of an archaic holdover.
Yeah, it was inherited from the original isometric Fallout games, Fallout 1 and 2. Karma existed in those games, but arguably it was less central. Specific faction reputations within individual towns often mattered more for how people treated you locally.
So Bethesda took that existing system for Fallout 3, but then amplified its importance by tying major companions and those powerful high-level perks directly to it.
Exactly. They made it matter more mechanically, but they fundamentally failed to balance the inputs and outputs. They didn't seem to account for how easy it was to gain good karma passively versus how grindy or cartoonish evil needed to be.
Yeah.
And that led to the fundamentally biased, easily manipulable, and ultimately kind of meaningless system we've spent the last, half hour or so tearing apart.
Yeah. It's a spectacular mess, honestly. The fact that the pinnacle of sustained moral degradation requires spending potentially hours clicking fail on a computer terminal.
While the pinnacle of virtue can be achieved by handing out maybe 24 bottles of water,
It just screams early 2000s RPG design flaws, doesn't it? Like a system that maybe sounded okay on paper but completely falls apart in practice.
absolutely, a relic of a different design era.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. To summarize our deep dive then. The Fallout 3 karma system is, by pretty much all accounts in the sources, fundamentally flawed. It suffers from an extreme, almost unavoidable automatic bias towards good karma.
Right. Achieving max good karma is practically effortless through just passive combat and a few high-value good deeds or charity exploits. Whereas achieving, or even just maintaining, evil or true neutrality requires either resorting to instant, cartoonishly evil atrocities or engaging in tedious, repetitive, grind-based acts of minor negativity.
The Understanding these broken mechanics is actually paramount for playing Fallout 3 effectively, isn't it? Because it allows you, the player, to consciously manipulate the system.
Exactly. If you do want that massive plus 30 speech skill boost from the impartial mediation perk, you now know the extreme discipline and likely the terminal hacking grind required to stay in that narrow neutral band.
Or if you actually want the infinite combat armor farm provided by the Talon Company constantly attacking you, you know that reaching very good status is, ironically, mechanically beneficial for loot.
It becomes a game of managing broken numbers, hidden just beneath the thinnest possible veneer of actual moral consequence.
Which brings us back perfectly to our final provocative thought pulled from the sources. If karma is genuinely supposed to measure your character's moral standing in the Wasteland, why is it so easily and so often overridden by the main storyline progression?
Right. The prime example given is the Brotherhood of Steel. They position themselves as the champions of good, order, and humanity in the capital Wasteland. Yet, they still let you join their ranks, help them with their most critical missions, and progress the entire main quest alongside them.
Even if you have been officially branded Demon Spawn by the game's own karma system for committing the ultimate evil of nuking Megaton earlier in your playthrough.
Exactly. If the major good faction in the game completely ignores your global, life-defining morality score when it comes to the main plot and their core objectives, what is the Fallout 3 karma system truly measuring?
Is it actually measuring morality in any meaningful way? Or is it just an archaic background mechanic used primarily to gatekeep specific companions and maybe trigger slightly different random ambush encounters with varying loot quality?
What is the real measure of a person, of your character, in the capital Wasteland, if the game's most crucial narrative decisions seem entirely divorced from its own moral spreadsheet?
Food for thought indeed. Something to chew on.
Definitely.
Well, thank you for sharing these incredibly detailed sources with us. This was a fantastic, deep, and honestly deeply satisfying dive into sheer systemic absurdity. I am now definitely grabbing that drink I mentioned.
Sounds like a plan.
And I feel fully justified now in maybe spending the next few hours hacking some imaginary terminals just to achieve perfect moral balance in my next playthrough. Or maybe just hand out water.
As planned. Until next time, then.
Cheers! And remember, everyone, apparently just 20 bottles of purified water can wash away any sin, even nuclear holocaust. Don't ever forget that nugget of wasteland wisdom.